Good evening. My name is Jason Delisle. I'm president of the town council. It is 7 p.m. on September 9th, and I call our meeting to order. We'll start off with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, quick introductions. To my right is our town manager, Grant Kleinhens.
Good evening.
Town councilor, Sarah Gardner.
Good evening.
Councilor Sean Harold.
Good evening.
And to my left is our town attorney, Ted Nolting.
Good evening.
Our clerk treasurer, Philip Faust.
Good evening.
Town councilor, Vince Noblet.
Good evening.
And our vice president, Nick Sturgeon.
Good evening.
Our first item is approval of minutes of the September 26th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions, comments regarding minutes? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 5-0.
I think you meant the August 26th, not September.
Yeah, that's a, yes. August 26th.
You're right, thank you. Comment from the crowd, thank you. Perfect. Keep me honest up here. That was the August 26th town council meeting minutes. All right, our second item is approval of memoranda from our administrative sessions, August 12th and August 26th.
I'll make a motion to approve our memoranda of administrative session from the August 26th, 2024.
And August 12th.
And
August.
There were two of them, sorry.
I think there's, I'm sorry, I believe there's an error on the,
yeah,
both from August 26th, but the heading is wrong on the first set, so we'll need to amend that.
Okay.
And then-
So these were both from,
yeah, these were both from the August 20, from our, before our last meeting.
Wondering if if maybe we got the wrong one printed, or,
So this is the August 26th joint,
Yeah, so we had a joint,
August
but the times
26th.
aren't.
yeah.
I think this is a
We should approve those
single.
at the next,
yeah,
next hearing. And just do the
I,
joint.
I rescind, retract my motion.
All right, yeah, we'll revisit that next meeting. All right, next item is approval of our memorandum of the joint executive session, Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on August 26th, 2024.
Okay, make a motion to approve the memorandum from our joint executive session of the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission on August 26th.
I'll second.
All right, any questions, comments? Call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our memorandum from August 26th between the Speedway Town Council and Redevelopment Commission, say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 5-0. All right, we got through the
Memorandums.
the memorandum.
I hope the rest of the meeting's not.
Smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah.
Ordinance.
All right, next up is our ordinance 1392, which is approval of the 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway. This is our first reading. Philip?
Thank you. This is the first of 4 budgets we're going to discuss today, and the first of 5 public hearings we're going to have today. So before we get to our first public hearing, did want to say a little bit about the ordinance 1392. the 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway. Gentlemen, if you could put up the first slide. So this is just a quick bar graph of certain select funds. These are most of the funds that appear on the ordinance itself. So these are funds that are have a big draw on property and other taxes, and that's why they end up before the Department of Local Government Finance. I did pull out like our pension funds and things like that that aren't really driven by a budget more than they are by a direct pass-through. What you see here is that our budget this year's for those funds is dipping slightly lower than last year's, and certainly over the last 3 years you see a fairly consistent budget there. Turning to the next slide. The reason I like to show this one is because I think that budgets are really a way for us to think about our priorities when you're deciding where to spend money and all that. And I think consistently what you see here, those two dramatically larger categories there are for fire and police. And so among the town's budget that goes before the DLGF, we have consistently shown that our priorities are public safety, and I think that that's important for the public to know. And then you can just sort of see it over time. So the different colors are over the past few years for each of those. While talking about priorities, I think it's important to note that when you look at that, and then you look at the school's budget that we're going to talk about more later, that is really where Speedway has consistently put our priorities, is public safety in our schools, and that's what we show with our money. So a couple housekeeping items here, just so that the public understands that this budget does not include the redevelopment commission, and it does not include the enterprises. So that's the water and the sewer utilities. Obviously, those are other large sources of income and expenses, but those do not go through this same process before the Department of Local Government Finance. The council does provide oversight to those through other avenues, but not through this process specifically. As part of this, this is the start of the end, so the start of the culmination of a lengthy process that involved lots of meetings and lots of work with the department heads, with Grant, with our financial advisor, London Whitty, multiple conversations with the Department of Local Government Finance to try to craft a budget that I think hopefully has met with your priorities and what the public can hopefully have some trust in. This was noticed through the Gateway Transparency Portal 10 days before this meeting, as is required by law. This is my annual reminder to the public that if you want to geek out on any of this like I do and you want to stay informed, go to budgetnotices.in.gov. You can set up alerts for yourself, not just for us, but for any other taxing unit that applies to you, and there are a lot of taxing units that do apply to you. And so you can keep abreast of what any of the local government functionaries are trying to push through. Hopefully what we will turn to next will be our public hearing today, then our first reading, and then on September 23rd at 7 p.m. we'll have our adoption hearing if we stay on schedule, and that'll be 10 plus days from now as is required by law. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Philip. That was good background. So it is 7:09 p.m. and I will open our public hearing for ordinance 1392. And how this will work, if you have something you'd like to say, please approach the podium, state your name, and then you can go ahead and make your comment.
My name is George Eargang. I don't have water, I got the sewage, but I noticed on the chart, phosphorus has never been tested before, and why is it being tested now when it wasn't ever before?
So that's a question for another public hearing.
Oh, okay.
And you're not being charged as a resident, only
businesses that are manufacturing related are being
Okay,
charged
that's still
that.
important though, the phosphorus. I don't know why it hadn't been there before.
Well, it's a state law that just came into effect over
is
the
that
past
right?
couple of years,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your comment. Any other questions? All right, it's 7:10 PM. We'll close our public hearing for ordinance 1392.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve from our first reading, the budget for 2025 for the civil town of Speedway.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions or comments regarding ordinance 1392?
I'll just make a comment. I just personally, and for the public to know, we scrutinized, these budgets in and out. And I appreciate the effort that Grant, the department heads, Philip did to make the process for us and going through so we know exactly what's being spent. Being a fiscal conservative, I think it's very important to make sure that the money that is entrusted in us as the town government is spent wisely. And, the fact that we are seeing a reduction for the most part across the board in our budgets, I think is a testament to us spending this money wisely, or at least the best as that we can. So I appreciate all the effort that's gone into it.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Nick, and I'd like to thank council too. It's the first time some of us have gone through this budget process. Grant, Philip, department heads, like you said, were fantastic throughout the whole process. So just thank you all for your work. Really appreciate it.
It's our Super Bowl of the year, frankly.
All right, any other questions, comments? I'll call for a vote on ordinance 1392, first reading. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1392, which is the 2025 budget for the civil town of Speedway, say aye.
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 And opposed? That passes 5-0. All right, our next item is ordinance 1393, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway. Philip.
Thank you, Mr. President. This one should be shorter. This is the first of three that make us a fairly unusual community compared to many other towns and cities, which is that we have our school, our library, and our public transportation board are all appointed boards, not elected, and therefore their budgets come before you. But luckily for me, on the labor side, I have to thank Nancy Johnson, the school's treasurer, and Kyle Trebley, the superintendent, who are very diligent in preparing their budget and presenting it to you. So I do look over it and review it, but they are consummate professionals, so they bring it to you in very good condition. This was noticed, again, 10 days beforehand, or more than 10 days beforehand, as is required by law, again, on the public gateway transparency portal. And at this point, we would turn to a public hearing for this as well, please.
All right, it is 7:13, and I'll open up the public hearing for ordinance 1393. And just as the previous public hearing, if you have any comments, please approach the podium and state your name. Last call for comments. It's 7:14. I'll close our public hearing for ordinance 1393.
And I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1393, approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway, first reading.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1393, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for the school town of Speedway, first reading, say aye.
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 Those opposed, that passes 5-0. All right, our next item is ordinance 1394, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library, first reading. Philip?
Here again, I have to have gratitude for Darcy Bohr and her leadership at the library in putting this budget together, along with their consultant from Baker Tilly, Rob Barr. I guess as a shorthand look at it, their estimate is that this is approximately a 4% increase from last year. The library is pretty consistent from year to year on their budget. This was noticed over 10 days in advance, and hopefully we will turn to a public hearing next.
All right, it is 7:15, and I will open up the public hearing for our ordinance 1394 regarding the budget for the Speedway Public Library. There are no comments. I will close our public hearing at 7:16. I've got this time perfectly. We're hitting it right on the number there. So our public hearing is now closed, 7:16.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1394, approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library, first reading.
I'll second.
All right, any questions, comments? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1394, which is approval of our 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Library, first reading, say aye.
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 And opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is ordinance 1395, which is the approval of our 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Transportation. Philip?
This is the last of our 4 budgets. To think that the public might need a little more explanation as to what the Public Transportation Board is. So their budget primarily goes towards servicing our Indigo contract so that we have bus service to the town. And then in addition to that, you can thank them for using additional funds for various sidewalk improvement projects that are near servicing bus stops, and for many of the speed limit radar signs that you see through town that are an effort to make it safer for pedestrians going to the buses. I have Dean Butts, who is the Public Transportation Board's treasurer, to thank for their budget. He is new to the board this year and got handed this duty, and he did a fine job with it, so thanks to him. This has been noticed over 10 days in advance, and I would ask that we move to a public hearing.
All right, it's 7:18 p.m., and I open up our public hearing for ordinance 1395.
Hi, my name's Deborah Wilcox with Wilcox Management Corporation. Been a resident of the Speedway for going on 25 years, I suppose. Anyway, with regards to the public transportation, I did not know that it pertained to the sidewalk, so I appreciate your definition and explanation of that. So I guess my question here is what, if anything, is being done regarding sidewalks along McCray or a sidewalk across the creek on Georgetown Road so that people are not required to walk in the street in that narrowed roadway just before the Legion if you're southbound.
Well, I'll say I don't have that information directly in front of me, but that's we'll take a look at that and see. Every year we go through and look at sidewalks, street conditions, and some of that's for replacement, but some of that is for creating and generating new sidewalks. So we'll take a look at that area and see what we can do.
Because my understanding is the reason why Speedway schools have been exempt from the busing that's plagued Indianapolis proper with their school system and Wayne Township has been because they have schools that are in walking distance. But if you don't have sidewalks for the kids to walk on, then they're walking in the streets. which is then why they require the busing. And I know that these sidewalks have not been there. There are no sidewalks on McCray when you're going from Auburn to Georgetown Road. And people have to walk in the street. And then that little creek along Georgetown Road, just north of the Legion, in that narrowed area where the road was reduced from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. You've got this creek, and there's nowhere to walk except in the street. And people in wheelchairs I've seen, and I'm not talking about at race time. I'm talking about any time of the year. Have to walk in the street to get around that creek, and that creek has that fence, so it's not like you can walk on the curb there to stay out of the street. So for safety reasons, I'm surprised that we haven't got that corrected yet. So I'd appreciate that.
I know that there's been quite an investment of sidewalks from that transportation board along 25th Street, from High School Road all the way up by the post office. And in addition, Moeller Road, there's no sidewalks there. They took it from basically all the way from the creek south to about 26th Street. And those are new sidewalks that were just put in within the last couple of years. In addition to that, I know that several places along Speedway, we've done some leveling projects and trying to eliminate a lot of trip hazards that are out there. The problem that they're running into is the fact that a lot of residents have planted trees close to the sidewalk, and it has lifted and changed the whole sidewalk dimension and created a lot of hazards that we have to go back and correct at that point. And they've been, I know, several spots within Speedway that they increased or leveled those sidewalks out. It's an ongoing project. Those funds will continually be there, but we can't take care of everything at one year. And Grant, I don't know if we have any more than usual funds for this year, but I know that those projects have taken place recently, and I would hope that they would continue, and we can see that it gets done.
I understand and appreciate maintaining and upkeeping the existing sidewalks, but I'm talking about an area that doesn't even have a sidewalk to be maintained. Something that creates an actual physical hazard to children, whether they be junior high or high school or elementary, trying to get to school.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a good point. We'll take a look at that.
thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, any other comments regarding ordinance 1395? It is 7:23, and I'll close our public hearing for ordinance 1395.
All right, and I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1395, approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Transportation, first reading.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions, comments?
I guess just to address, this is something we'll make sure we communicate with the Transportation Board and get this on their list of priorities to take a look at. So.
All right, if there's no other comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1395, which is the approval of the 2025 budget for the Speedway Public Transportation, first reading, say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is approval of ordinance 1390, which amends the measurement of waste liability for surcharges, computing payments, and definitions. Second reading. Grant.
Yes, so this came to the council the 1st of August 12th, I think it was. So we have not increased the surcharge rates for manufacturing companies that deposit various chemicals into our sanitary sewer system since 2015. Our staff worked with our engineering firm to look at the cost of doing the treatment of those types of discharges. Under section 13.32040 of the ordinance, section B, we have increased BOD, total oil and grease, suspended solids, ammonia, nitrogen, and added phosphorus in those amounts that are listed. Once again, these are paid by 4 industrial clients within our town, not our average users or households. And the ordinance, if approved, would not go in effect until January 1 of 2025, and it will be billed one time per year, typically at the beginning of the year. So I'll answer any questions that you might have. We do need to have a public hearing on this one, which has been advertised.
All right, it is 7:25, and I'll open our public hearing for ordinance 1390.
I don't mean to usurp everybody's time, but anyway, I did not understand that this particular rate increase was for industrial users only.
It's only for 4 companies that are located within our town limits.
Okay, because we received this letter and
We are required to send out that letter.
and the implication that I received from that letter was that my sewer rates were going up.
No.
Okay. Not a problem.
Yep.
Thanks.
And you know, I'm glad you asked that question, because that's something that we've talked about, but we wanted to make sure that that was clear to others. So anybody listening, I think that'll be good information for them. So thank you for your comment. All right, any other comments regarding ordinance 1390? It's 7:26, and I'll close our public hearing for ordinance 1390.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1390, an ordinance amending the measurement of waste liability for surcharges, computing payments, and definitions on our second reading.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions, comments regarding ordinance 1390? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 1390, which amends the measurement of waste, liability for surcharges, computing payments, and definitions, which are second reading, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. All right, our next item is approval of local public agency federal funds exchange project grant agreement for construction of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. I try to make them as long as I
Yeah.
possibly can.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, I could add some words if we, yeah. All kidding aside, this is a grant agreement between us and the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization, of which we are a member. They receive funding through the Federal Highway Authority annually for road improvements, sidewalk improvements, pedestrian improvements, et cetera. We applied for this grant in, I'm trying to remember when it was, September of 2021, and were awarded $340,800 for the pedestrian improvement project. This project will install sidewalks on the north side of Crawfordsville Road, the south side of Crawfordsville Road, basically from St. Andrew's Church, west of Parkwood, Cunningham Road, all the way east to the Coles entrance there on the east side, and then on the south side, the same distance generally, with some improvements, very minor improvements to Cunningham Road in front of CVS, because we have a lot of wrecks there, accidents because of sight lines and other matters. There also will be a new signal at the planned as part of this project at that same entrance there at Coles. And there will be what is called a mid-block hawk signal, which is a pedestrian-only crossing, very similar to what we have on Cunningham and Lyndhurst for the B&O Trail. So this agreement says we're receiving the $2.3 million. It also says that we will pay any difference in the cost of that project and that we will complete that project. So we're kind of agreeing that we are moving ahead with that project. One of the things I wanted to also discuss, because I've included that at the very end of your packet, and Brian, I think I had asked, yes, and it's small, I realize, I apologize. So here we have a sources and use kind of spreadsheet on two of our major capital improvement projects for next year. This pedestrian project as well as the 25th Street project. So sources and uses simply identifies the costs and then identifies on the other side of the ledger the sources of our funds that we are going to gather to pay the cost of that project. So as you can see, the two total cost of these projects are about $9 million. And we have $9 million on the other side of the ledger. We are getting that from this grant, another state grant called the Community Crossings Matching Grant Program. We are going through the process of issuing a general obligation bond, as well as some funds locally from the Transportation Committee potentially, and the SRC funding. Any dollars that we do not receive from those, we will have to figure out where in the motor vehicle highway budget, and we do have a fairly sizable balance in that account. So using $200,000 or $300,000 will not negatively impact that. So that is the funding plan. I'll answer any questions that you might have, but this would need to be approved so that we can submit it to the MPO. We are going to bid on the pedestrian project, which is what this is focused on, in December. Construction would not start until June or July of next year after the race.
I'll make a motion to approve of a local public agency federal funds exchange project grant agreement for construction with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project.
I'll second.
Say ditto.
Yeah.
All right, any questions, comments regarding this item? I'm going to read that again.
The only other comment I have is I want to make sure people understand that we apply for these federal funds fairly rarely. We are not a large community. We don't have a lot of roads. But this was a priority set with the previous council. We had to do this 4 years in advance, and now you guys are coming at the tail end, kind of approving it and moving through the process. But this will significantly improve the safety of our residents walking in and around that shopping center area. Every day I drive by there, I see people trying to cross that. It's not safe. There's no means to really slow traffic. This will help in all those regards and put the sidewalks there where there are no sidewalks. This is a totally different fund than the Transportation Committee. We'll discuss that with them for McRae. But these are the kind of things that we try to do, leverage these outside funds that if we didn't apply for, that would go to someone else. So we're trying to get those dollars, make those improvements, put our money into the kitty, and make our community better.
Yep, sorry. Any questions, comments? I guess I already said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I'll just have a quick comment. I agree with you, Grant. Driving up and down Crawfordsville, you see people crossing the road, people on the median. Hopefully this eliminates some of that, at least most of that, hopefully. Probably
Most of it, probably not 100%.
People will still try and do some of that, but I do feel like this is a safety project, and the cost is significant, but we are trying to get as much help as we can to cover that cost. So I'm happy that this is something, I think this will be a good thing for the town.
I get an additional comment, in relationship to the funding for Crawfordsville Road. Again, the town of Speedway has to step up in addition to the MPO. This is technically their road, but.
It's City of Indianapolis's road.
Yeah, City of Indianapolis Road. And again, we are a small community, but yet, people driving down to downtown Indianapolis are using Crawfordsville Road. The same goes in terms of public safety in relationship to a Hawk system right on the roundabout. We've been trying for years to get that established, and it falls on deaf ear. And so, public safety is number one. And you see everybody on Crawfordsville Road by the shopping center trying to get across because all the apartments are on the other side and they're trying to get to Kroger's, and from that standpoint. Same way with the roundabout. People are wanting on one side and they got to get on the other. And without flashing signals, you're just hoping the guy stops, and it's another hazard area that we need to get help on. And we can get our city county councilors to help us out and get that funding. Thank you, Grant.
And to that point, that again, where even though this technically isn't our responsibility, because it is our citizens, we are doing what's right and improving the safety. So, I mean, we could balk and say, no, this isn't our responsibility, but we are taking action to get it done.
Good point. All right, if there are no other comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our local public agency federal funds exchange project grant agreement for construction with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Crawfordsville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. All right, our next item is approval of a production broadcasting consent agreement for sports coverage with ISC Sports Network. And we have Speedway's own Brian Pierce here to give us more information.
So basically, this contract is, we already produce the home games for Speedway, football, basketball, girls basketball. We have an agreement with ISC Sports that we've used over the last 2 or 3 years where we send them what we've produced. They re-air it. Any ads that they sell for their broadcast, we get 50% of. We don't have to pay them a dime. So it doesn't create any more work, but it's a potential new source of revenue. And I think it also helps us when we go out looking for sponsors to say, look, our sports programming is in 55,000 more homes than it would be just in town with this agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the production broadcasting consent agreement for sports coverage with ICS Sports Network.
I'll second.
All right, any questions, comments?
And I know sitting in a few of the Cable Commission meetings, I know you guys are looking at creative ways to increase funding opportunities to help, reach and promote more of what we're doing in Speedway. So I appreciate you guys on this, thinking kind of outside the box and, trying to extend that coverage and showing a lot of the great things that our kids, especially with the sports, are doing. So.
Yeah, Brian, and I know you mentioned something about partnering with local businesses, you guys being able to come and, marketing and things like that. Do you want to maybe expand a little bit on that while you got a second?
Well, we have figured out a way to be able to play ads during halftime. Now, it used to be we just had a graphic up. So we were testing that out on Friday, and the game will continue to do that, trying to give options there. We do have production for hire services for people if they want to, contract with us to do some video production for them, that sort of thing.
Awesome. I think that's good to know, especially as Speedway takes care of each other. So the local businesses tend to work with each other. So I think using you guys and everybody working together just benefits everyone. So I think that's a good thing that people know about too.
All right, if there's no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our production broadcasting consent agreement for sports coverage with ISC Sports Network, say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item is approval of task order number 5 with Wessler Engineering for the basin rehabilitation at the surface water treatment plant. Grant.
Yes, so we do have an engineer from Wessler, if you have any questions, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, I apologize. Adam, thank you. We met one time, so it's not like I see him every day. So this agreement before you, we've discussed this a little bit before in some email conversations. Our sedimentation tanks that take the raw water, everything settles out of it, and then we treat that water. They're original to the plant, so built in the 70s. They are showing their age. They're not necessarily something that we can continue to ignore. in the capital improvement plan that we put together a couple of years ago for our sewer and water rate increases. This was in the top 3 items that were identified. The first was the garage that we just built and the raw water intake structure. So this is kind of number 3. So this proposed contract, they're going to kind of analyze the condition of that, look at alternative ways to address, see whether it needs complete reconstruction or rehabilitation, and their proposed fee is $70,000. I did discuss the fee with Kurt Vonnegut. A good portion of it, about $30,000, is an outside source that they are paying to do some of the testing, and really Wessler's making about $40,000 on this. I think it's a good value for what we are getting and will ultimately lead, I think, to a better decision about whether or how we would like to move forward. I had mentioned this to the council. If we do a full rebuild, it could be a $5 million project. If it's a rehab, it could be less than that, but we want to make sure we do the right thing that lasts the longest and gives us the best bang for our buck. So I don't know if we have any questions, but that's kind of my spiel.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of task order number 5 with Wessler Engineering for the basin rehabilitation at the surface water treatment plant.
And I will second.
All right, any questions, comments?
Where is this in the process? Is it in that mixing, the old, looks like a paddle wheel?
Yep.
Is that what's going on? Okay.
It's Vince.
I'm surprised it's there, still hanging in there.
Well, the paddles aren't really hanging in there.
Okay, all right,
They've
all right.
significantly deteriorated over the years, so.
Appreciate it, council.
Thank you. All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving task order number 5 with Wessler Engineering for the basin rehabilitation at the surface water treatment plant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Next item is approval of waiver of application of ordinance. Is that the right ordinance number? 10.16.030, which is basically for hauling concrete, gravel, et cetera, for temporary construction access point on 25th Street. Grant.
Yeah, so Brian, if you could show the image. Oh, there we go. Okay. So in discussions with the school as they embark on their construction project, when they are specifically doing the demolition and trucking in materials, rock, gravel, sand, everything else that they'll need to take in and out, they would like to use 25th Street, and the route that they've drawn here in red takes the truck traffic north on Lyndhurst, which is rated for anything over 10 tons. They'll turn then west on 25th Street, which is not rated for these type of loads. But because we are reconstructing the road next year, we've discussed it, we're okay with that. The council has to waive the application of this ordinance, which prohibits those over 10-ton loads. And those are triaxles, big trucks. So we're okay with it. We met with the schools. We've recommended this. I do want to make it very clear, though, we are not wanting truck traffic to come from High School Road east on 25th Street. That's a very difficult turn, and we're not doing west of Parkwood. So we don't want to do any damage to that section of road. But I think this is a good compromise. I think everybody seemed to be in agreement. Hopefully this does save them some of that hauling cost. But we recommend approval or waiver of the application of that ordinance.
So I'll make a motion to approve the waiver of application of ordinance 10.16.030, hauling concrete, gravel, et cetera, for temporary construction access point on 25th Street.
I'll second.
All right, any questions, comments?
So, couple concerns. Right, I know we're getting ready, hopefully, to repair that, so would rather do this beforehand than after the construction.
Yep.
But I still have concerns about the condition of the road after they do this construction and before we get it done, because it's already bad enough as it is, but I could only imagine that the roads are going to deteriorate even more during this construction. And then the potential traffic impact for the residents.
So we have expressed to the schools, we want them to keep the roads clean. And if there is damage done during the process of hauling, we're expecting that they'll throw down some cold patch and fix that road to make it safe. Because you're right, in June, July, and August, when it's 80 to 100 degrees, heavy trucks can do some damage to the road, and I think they're okay and willing to fix that. As far as traffic, I think it potentially could cause some traffic concerns. I would hope they're not doing it during a school drop-off, but that's something we can definitely mention to them.
Well, and that's primary, but then just the residential traffic in and out too, I could see there will be some grumblings from the residents that live along that stretch of road.
Yep.
Grant, did they give us an estimate of how many loads?
I think they were talking 50 trucks a day, and it was something like 400 trucks. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we really don't have another good
It's hard to
option,
get.
do
Yeah.
we?
This is the best option that we were able to. Keeping it on Lyndhurst. Lyndhurst has a better base. It's a better road. Not going to do any damage to it. But when they come onto 25th, it's just, going through their parking lot didn't necessarily work out because of the construction staging. This just made some sense, particularly because we were doing or planning to make improvements to the road. And we'll have to time it such that we probably don't worry about the surface of the road until they're done hauling. Mm-hmm. So our construction it'll probably start in June next year, but they'll be doing stuff that's not maybe in the roadway, maybe, I don't know, utility relocates and other things like that. Because it's we're planning a full reconstruction of 25th from Lyndhurst West to Parkwood. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be an inconvenient summer for everybody. I'm going to be straight, right? Because you're going to have construction
I was just going to say, my comment regarding traffic, we have to move that dirt out somehow.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an impact. We're trying to figure out the best way to make that work. This actually saves significant amount of money for the school too. So yeah, it's like kind of pick your poison a little bit. We got to get that dirt out of there somehow. So unfortunately, this seems to be the best way to do that.
Until they develop teleportation or disintegration, we got to get it out of there some way.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for, again, I feel like we're trying really hard to work together as a town and a school, which what I've heard is pretty unique, right? And so I thank you for taking the time to meet with the schools and the schools to meet with us. And just, again, we're trying to work together. We're not trying to work apart from each other, but we're trying to work in the same. And again, this is going to be very inconvenient for many reasons, but
it's a good
like
improvement.
anything, right? It's like, it's improvement. So looking past that, and I think this is the safest way to keep all this away from the kids. And it's just what needs to be done. So,
and I want to thank Rob
that.
too.
Yeah.
Rob was out there with me and reviewed it and looked at it. So
I appreciate that.
as street commissioner, he had a big say in it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving our waiver of application of ordinance 10.16.030, which is regarding hauling concrete, gravel, et cetera, from the temporary construction access point on 25th Street.
for the high school, I think we need to be it's for the high school. We don't want other trucks doing it. I think I just thought about that. We need to make sure it's just for the construction of the high school project.
Okay, I'll amend my vote statement to include, how about this? I'll just restate it. All those in favor of approving our waiver of application of ordinance 10.16.030, which is regarding hauling concrete, gravel, et cetera, for the temporary construction access point on 25th Street for the high school, say aye.
Aye.
We'll get them a letter and send that out, and I'll get a copy to the council.
Perfect, thank you.
I'll probably take it up to Kyle, or email it to him.
All right, our next item is approval of claims and utility adjustments. Philip?
Thank you. I have both for you this evening for the period covering August 22nd, 2024 through September 4th, 2024. The utility adjustments are for 5 customers and come on 3 pages total. The claims come on 11 pages and amount $827,208.62.
I'll make a motion, we approve claims and utility adjustments as presented by our clerk treasurer.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor of approving claims and utility adjustments as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. All right. Next up is our report from department supervisors, and we'll start with communications and Cheryl McRoy.
I always make the assumption you're not going to switch it up like Vince did one time and call someone before me, and here I stand. Good evening, council. Just a couple things to share. Within the last, I think, week or two, I rolled out a new community newsletter that I actually sent to email. So it's just a summarization of events or past information we've shared on Facebook or the website or anything new coming up. The intent is to do it monthly. It would be probably the beginning, or I'm sorry, the middle to the end of the month based on what new information we have to share. So far, it's been pretty well received. To receive it, there is, you can go to the website, the homepage, and there's a place to sign up for subscriptions. From when I put it out to yesterday when I checked, we'd increased the number of email subscriptions by just 70. So that wasn't too bad. So I'm going to try to push that. It's just an easy way for folks to receive information versus following social media. Let's see, the other item, back in May, I started doing because May is so busy, just an informal running list of different events that were coming up and different activities that were taking place in town, even though they weren't town events. There was a lot of compliments on it and a lot of comments that people were following it. So I've continued that. So I kind of created work for myself, but I have continued it. So you can find that on Facebook or on the website. And I'm just going to share a couple of those coming up real quickly. And Tammy will speak to this one, but this week, Wednesday, September 11th, is the Community Safety and Service Day at Leonard Park from 5 to 7. September 13th and 14th, on Friday and Saturday, the OSCNA Community Annual Community Sale takes place. September 14th, on Saturday, Speedway Animal Rescue will be having an adoption celebration celebrating their 200th adoption. That is at the Plaza Park on Main from 1 to 4. There'll be a DJ, raffle, merchandise vendors, and then adoptable dogs on site if anyone's interested. September 14th, also on Saturday, following the adoption celebration, there will be the Speedway Chamber Jazz at the Plaza on Main from 7 to 9. Let's see, the following week, Thursday, September 19th, there's the IMSA Street Fest on Main Street. That will be from 14th Street to 16th Street. It's from 6 to 9. There'll be a car display, driver autographs, pit stop demos, a beer garden, and quite a bit more that IMS is offering. September 20th and 22nd is Battle of the Bricks, IMSA at IMS. September 26th is Run 317 on Main Street. You can find the exact route and the timing of the run on the website. September 26th through 28th is Driven to Save Lives. USAC presents that at IMS. And let's see, Friday, September 27th, the Hometown Community Parade will start at 5 o'clock. We'll be ending at the homecoming football game at the high school in time for kickoff. And then October 1st, and I'll stop there, is our third casual conversation with Town Manager Grant and department heads. That'll be here at the SMC from 5:30 to 7 p.m. That's all I have. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you for
Thank
putting
you.
together the list that you sent to us too, by the way. That's
sorry?
I said, and thank you for sending us the list of those dates. It's super helpful, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Next up is our police department with Chief Upchurch.
Good evening, Council. This past week, myself, Deputy Chief Alexander, and Deputy Chief Dine were able to attend the U.S. Attorney General's Conference here in Indianapolis. It was 3 days of free training, which we always like the free part. So, and we were there with about 300 other law enforcement and prosecutors and other criminal justice professionals that we went over various topics for the 3 days. So we enjoyed the training, and I believe we learned a lot from that. We are still in the process of, we just finished our oral interviews for our promotional process. We do have a lieutenant spot and a sergeant spot available that we need to fill due to Deputy Chief Dine's promotion. So we will be doing the testing for that next week on the 18th, so the written test. And from there, they're pretty quick on getting our results back, so we should be able to fill those positions pretty quickly after that. So we did interview candidates for our part-time code enforcement position, and we got a couple of very good candidates, and I believe that we should be able to fill that here in the next week or so. And I'm sure the code enforcement look forward to the help. So, and I'll just go over a couple of stats. Our calls for service through the end of August, we responded to 19,435 calls for service so far this year, and our traffic citations, we have issued 4,990 thus far. And that's all I have.
So, Chief, I know the school sent something out on Parent Square. Can you address the safety concern that was mentioned?
My understanding, I spoke to Kyle Trebley, the superintendent, this afternoon, our school resource officer, and our investigative lieutenant. There was evidently a threat made in a classroom by a couple of students regarding possible shooting up the school. And it was very quickly reported by other students to the administrative staff, who contacted the school resource officer. Our detectives responded, and those two individuals were placed under arrest for intimidation. So they consulted the prosecutor's office, and those are not taken lightly today. So idle threats, or you'll end up at the juvenile center if that's what's going to happen. So it was taken care of very quickly, and a lot of cooperation from the school officials and the police department.
Well, appreciate that. I know it can be scary, and
Yes.
I know that having a child that's at the high school, get those. It's never a fun thing to get, but
Right.
understanding that you guys are there, Officer Howery, the SRO, taking quick action on that. As a parent, I can't thank you guys enough for the quick action.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I also would like to mention, Chief, that, I appreciate the visibility of your officers out there, and I think that that has a big effect on, reducing speed, and also, those individuals that, are traveling through Speedway, makes them aware, hey, we do care about our community.
Yes.
And, some of our surrounding neighbors basically are, tend to take advantage of whatever they can, but
We don't give a lot of warnings anymore.
yeah,
So.
yeah, I think it's appropriate from that standpoint. Can you give us an update on the parks? Where are we at on taking care of?
We continue to patrol the parks, and our officers make regular patrols through the park. They site out each time that they go through one of the parks, and we address issues when we receive calls from individuals in the area and the neighborhood. So parks are always going to continue to be one of the areas that we have the officers focus on. So and we try to do the best we can. So, but we just, at this point, we can't just have an officer sitting in the park continually. But we do make regular patrols through the parks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Next up is our fire department with Chief Fishburne.
Hey, Council. A little time off, and it's good to be back. I want to start off by saying, I not only work here, but I live here. And I appreciate the other communities I'm in, man, people are zipping past you. And in Speedway, you do see a lot of people pulled over, and like he said, they're not writing warnings. And I think it helps. It helps, with us having to run on people who are in accidents and pedestrians being struck and all of that. So appreciate the work that police does. Wanted to bring you up to date on a couple things. This week is kind of like our community week, I guess, because Wednesday, we're excited about community night. Saturday, we are sending our safety trailer over to Lindy Advanced Technologies for like 5.5 hours for their family fun day. So they'll take our safety trailer over, kids will get to go through that, our apparatus will be there, and this is the second year we've done it. They hit us up early, so we were able to get that planned, so we're looking forward to that. I think I told you a couple months ago where we had received a grant from Marathon for equipment that we had applied for, and we only received half of what we applied for. The max we could get was $5,000. We were awarded $2,500. We got notification last week that they had some funds that weren't claimed, and because of our application, which really is a credit to Chief Milhorn, they awarded us the additional $2,500. So that'll go toward hose and equipment and into our donations fund, and we'll get Philip the proper paperwork on that with all of our grant stuff. Our spec committee for the new ladder, which I don't want you to panic, it'll take 40 to 48 months. So it's a 4-year, down the road, which Grant knows. Our first committee meeting was great. The engine is already in a blueprint form, and we're kind of working with Pierce. I think, like we said, it's 1.4 million. Our current one is 22. Our current reserve is 22. So we're going to get more than 25 years out of that apparatus. But some of their pricing is going to go up here in about 60 days. And on a $1.5 million project, we'd really like to tie it up. I'll keep Grant and Philip posted on where we're at on that, where we can get to locked in on our financing and what we're going to pay for that and all of that. So just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. Wanted to commend our guys. You probably heard about the Island Club fire back on, I think was Thursday. Our ladder, it was a 3-alarm. Chief Hartman was there, I think safety officer, and our guys did a great job. That ever since that complex has been built, there's just no access on that backside. The old gravel pit just didn't allow it. Some of us spent time in that gravel pit when we were kids. Probably just Vince and I, because you guys are too young. So we are also looking at doing a hiring process. Our current list will expire in November, so we want to kind of get ahead of that. We are losing a firefighter to the town of Plainfield in about a month. We just got notified of that. There's some family connections there, and he was pretty emotional in letting us know. So I think it's something he's going to and not something he's running from, but you never know that. So lastly, our run load, 340 runs in July, 61% EMS, 39% fire. And I am really excited about the Crawfordsville Road project because it's gonna alleviate a lot of accidents coming out and going in. And I know my guys will, they don't want to see people hurt either, but we get a lot of action there. And I think that project's just going to be great for it. So if you guys don't have any questions, we'll see you Wednesday night again, I guess.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Serving hot dogs, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be there.
And water.
I'll feed my kids there.
Next is Parks and Rec with Tammy Smith.
Well, I'll start off about the Community Public Safety and Service Community Day, which is this Wednesday at Leonard Park, 5 to 7 p.m. Police will be serving hot dogs, and the fire department's going to be doing water and are you doing chips again this year, Bob? Oh, yeah. Chips again? Yep, okay. And Curly from Conkle Funeral Home contacted me today. He's going to be providing some sodas. We've got several community groups that are coming out that'll be on hand to be able to give the community information on what they offer the community. We have different representatives that'll be out that day. Fun Days Ice Cream is going to be sponsoring again with ice cream that the Grant and other town leaders can be scooping for the community. And the Speedway Public Library is once again sponsoring the foam cannon. The kids had a great time with that last year, so that will be back again this year. Our departments, different departments will have some of their equipment out for the kids and adults to get up close and see the different vehicles, the fire trucks, police cars, and some of the other town equipment that we use. So we're excited about that, and it's going to be a beautiful day. Weather looks nice, so we hope everybody comes out. Again, that's Leonard Park, Wednesday, 5 to 7 p.m.
Tammy,
Yes.
Edie's going to be doing the chips this year. I didn't want to take credit.
Okay. Thanks for providing the chips. Yes, thank you.
We will be cooking hot dogs together and harassing each other.
It's a lot of fun, so you don't want to miss it. Sunday, we've got something that's just kind of got on the books. The Parks Board approved. This is a nonprofit group called Back Home Again in Indiana. They are doing a fundraiser at the gazebo this Sunday. I know there's a chance of rain, so hopefully that'll kind of hold off around the time they're doing this. This 501c3 Back Home Again in Indiana is actually a group that is trying to promote like social dancing from like 1920s. So old style dancing, swing, lindy, stuff like that. And it's a fundraiser for a big event that they're having next year in Indianapolis, where people from all around will come over for this. And what they're doing, so they're doing 2 sessions, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and then again 1:30 to 4:30. It's a suggested donation of $10. The first half hour of each of those sessions will be a 30-minute beginner lesson. So if you've always wanted to come and learn that type of dancing, this would be a great opportunity, followed by just the social dancing of that type of dance. And with the centennial coming up in 2026, and our town was founded in 1926, it would be a great opportunity. We're trying to do, the Centennial Planning Committee is coming up with different activities and events, and potentially a period dance opportunity might come around. So this might be a great opportunity for people to come and learn some of this stuff. So if you're not doing anything Sunday, considering going to one of those, they just sent me the flyer today. I'm going to be posting that. It'll be up on the Parks page tomorrow, and then of course Cheryl will also share it through the town's website. The other next event coming up will be the Trunk or Treat, October 26th, Saturday, October 26th. And I sent out initial emails today to all of our past participants, and getting a good response of those coming back this year to participate. The time on that is 5 to 6:15. We will get a flyer posted on that as well soon. So if you're not a past participant and you're an organization or a business or a group that wants to have a trunk or a space to decorate and pass out candy, please contact me. My email at tsmith@speedwayin.gov, and we can get you added to our participation list. We also do a contest for the best decorated trunk or space, but this year we're also going to add a pumpkin decorating contest that anybody can participate in. You would bring your already decorated pumpkin, whether it's carved or decorated some other way. We'll have a table set up for people to put their pumpkins, and then people can vote on those as well during the event. And that's all I have today. Any questions?
Perfect. Thank you, Tammy.
Thanks, Tammy.
Next is Public Works, Mr. Wet Night.
Good evening, council. We'll start off with water. They treated 69 million gallons of water in August. The preventive maintenance and, changing water meters in the wastewater plant, they treated 1.19 million gallons of water. They're flushing nitrification tanks, doing groundskeeping. He's conducting interviews for the assistant's job. And in street department world, we're still working on the street sidewalk project on the north end. They're getting close to financial or substantial completion there. Not quite there yet. We haven't done a walkthrough or anything yet, but there's asphalt down, sidewalks are there, so it's not perfect, but we're getting there. Had an interview with a gentleman this week for the opening that we had, so we'll see if everything goes well there with the pre-employment drug test, and we'll have to get him a CDL because it's tough to get anybody with a CDL, so we're working on it. So that's about all I have.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks, Rob.
Next is economic development with Carmen Lethig.
Hi, good evening. Here are some things I've been working on since we last met. I continue to work on the revolving loan program for the businesses in Speedway. I met with a bank last week to continue to look at the draft program policy that I have, got feedback from them, also made some edits and sent it back to them. So we'll have another meeting soon to discuss the program policy. I do still need to meet with business owners here in Speedway. I want to make sure I have the policy a little more solidified so they have the, almost finalized information to respond to and get their feedback. So at the last redevelopment commission meeting, the commissioners did approve a taxpayer obligation agreement for a Marriott hotel in Founder Square. I know many of you are familiar with that, but for the public, just a little bit of background. So the final vacant lot in Founders, I shouldn't say the final, one of two of final vacant lots in Founders Square is going to be sold to develop a Marriott hotel. The hotel, so what happened is the hotel developer asked several months ago the redevelopment commission to allow him the ability to appeal his property taxes. And this is something that is not allowed by the agreement that the current sign owners signed with the current site owners signed with the redevelopment commission when the redevelopment commission sold the site to them. So the redevelopment commission worked with the hotel developer for several months to come up with an agreement that both the redevelopment commission, the council, and the buyer felt comfortable with. So in this agreement, it states that he must start construction within 2.5 years and finish within 2 years of starting that construction. He must pay his property taxes when they are due. He has the right to appeal if the taxes due are below $140,000 plus the escalator of 3%, only if there's a national event that causes his business to lessen. So think like COVID or something like that. And he must get permission from the redevelopment commission in order to appeal those taxes. So we would have notification and the ability to work with him to discuss that before he did it. He does not have to pay a minimum tax amount unless the property falls into disrepair because of his own neglect, basically. Moving on from that, some of you may have noticed in one of the lots that that still needs to be developed in Founder Square, that they are starting site prep. So that is for the Weston School. It's a Montessori daycare. So they're starting site prep. They don't, as far as I know, they don't have their permits yet. They're close to getting all of their building permits, but they're just starting to prep the site for that construction. Other than that, the major things I've been working on, lots of communications with business owners, requests, helping out where I can for businesses around the town, and then working on completing project development steps. Last time I mentioned the 16th and Mickley site, working on community mentors program application, various projects like that. Questions, comments?
All right, thank you, Carmen.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thanks, Corinne.
All right, next is our town manager report with.
I just have a couple of comments. I will not be at the 9/23 council meeting. I will be attending the International City County Management Association Conference in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I will be unable to attend. I'll get the packet ready. The conference starts on Sunday and goes through Wednesday at lunch. Then I'll come home after that. So this is your opportunity to run wild with the agenda. What do you guys, whatever you want to do, let me know. We can make it as long as you want.
well, yeah,
there
Grant's
you go.
fault.
There you go. I also wanted to remind the council, we have, I think it's our third meeting of the golf cart advisory committee tomorrow evening. They are reviewing a semifinal draft, just to go over a couple of more things. The goal after that is to have that kind of wrapped up, buttoned up, and brought to the council the first meeting in October to have you guys consider it on first reading. And then I think we'll do second reading probably at the end of October, and it will be effective if the council approves it and it gets agreed upon after the first of the year. There's still a couple sticking points that we're trying to work through, but generally it's been a pretty good process. The people that have been on the committee have been well engaged. We've also sent several emails to those that weren't selected. If you remember, we had, I think it was 35 and we put 10 on. So we've sent emails out and gotten some feedback and comments back from them as well, which has been good to keep them engaged. So we'll see how it goes and hopefully be bringing something to you to consider next month. That's all I have.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Grant. Counselor Sarah Gardner.
Yeah, just to piggyback off a lot of what was already said, I know with the parade coming up, the signs just went out this week, so if you see those, that's kind of what that's for. I know it's the same route that they took last year. I believe it's about a mile route, so either getting involved in the parade. I know one thing that they're looking for is volunteers for before. I know it's a tough time with it being the parade's at 5, so if you have a little bit of time, maybe, before that, if it would work. I know that they have been sending out a few requests. So again, all volunteer run parade, and they did an amazing job last year. So I'm very impressed by that committee. So just to come out and support, it'll be fun this year. Last year was on a Sunday. This year it will end with the football game and leading to homecoming. So really fun way to kind of kick off that weekend. And yeah, so hopefully you can come out and enjoy it and enjoy the game. And yeah, should be fun.
All right, thank you. Counselor Sean Harold.
Just two quick things. I just also want to piggyback on what folks said earlier in regards to Grant Phillip, all of the department heads. Thank you so much for all of the work on the budgets. You definitely made it a smooth process. I know I mentioned this last meeting, but much smoother than I anticipated. So that's just a testament to how much work and effort you all put in. So thank you so much for that. And then Rob and Grant, I know recently I've had a few citizen concerns that I've sent your way, and you guys, I feel like you guys both went above and beyond to help out in those situations, and so I just wanted to publicly thank you both for doing so.
All right, thank you. Counselor Vince Noblet.
No, I just I want to bring to the public attention again. I think that public safety and making phone calls on 911 is very important to how safe this town stays. And I know I've been there before when something happens, should I call? Should I wait? And I think it's always best to call and making sure that the fire department's notified in a timely manner, the police department's notified in a timely manner so we can get the right people in to help out a situation. It's critical to the safety of this whole town from that standpoint. One other thing I'd like to put the challenge to the department heads. We got to run 317. I'd like to see who the fastest department head is. Okay, come on, you guys. There's
Carmen's quite the runner.
Carmen, she might make the list.
Ringer. She win it for us.
I think that would happen, actually.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vice President Nick Sturgeon.
Yeah, no, I kind of re-echo some of the comments made on the budget. This is, for me, and being just very, fiscally conservative to make sure that we are appropriately, spending the money that, we get from taxpayers. I think of anything that I, as a counselor, can have impact on, I think that's one of the big things. And so, for those that I've had conversations with, privately or personally, making sure that we run as lean as we can. I know we're not a business, and we can't run exactly the same way businesses run, but I think bringing some of those principles here and making sure that we're just not going wild and spending on frivolous things, I think it's important. And I would also, I see that through how the department heads with you, Grant, and Philip came and really trimmed back and really, prioritizing those things that we need to do, and just want to make sure that the public understands that, it's a very detailed process that has gone through. And I think, I don't necessarily want to speak for the rest of the council, but I think we all have similar mindsets, and, we're challenging, Grant as a town manager and the department heads to make sure that we are spending wisely, because it isn't an infinite budget. So this is, for me, is one of the important responsibilities that I have as a member of this council, is to make sure the budgets are, close to, that zero, that we're not going into a deficit. So.
All right, makes sense. Thank you. And with that, our 15th meeting of 2024 is adjourned at 8:21 PM.